Bungie's Marathon needs to break into the top 5 NPD sales of the end of the year to be considered a success, it's claimed. Bungie is facing new plagiarism accusations after an artist claims the Marathon closed alpha is, quote, plastered with art copied from their 2017 poster designs. Ex-Bungie dev says Marathon leadership was extremely toxic and humiliating to work with. Bungie leadership needs to be gutted completely. Bungie leadership reportedly ignored Marathon devs' warnings for years about what would and wouldn't work, along with the request to add a PvE component to the game. Once hailed as a titan of game developers and the creative force behind Halo and the pioneers of Destiny, Bungie now watches helplessly as their studio crumbles around them. With over 4 counts of plagiarism, mass layoffs, a game that's predicted to fail before its release, and a player base on the brink of revolt, the best thing Bungie might be able to do to live is to die. Today, I want to explain how Marathon might be Bungie's grave and why the death of their studio might be their best shot at surviving. It's an odd feeling for me watching everything happening to Bungie. It's a bit like watching someone you once loved self-destruct. It's disheartening, yet morbidly fascinating. The Bungie I knew, you knew, is long gone. Left in its place is a monolith of greed and delusion, who is asking everyone to partake of its poison. Bungie has gone from a studio that made money to make games to a studio that makes games to make money. And while this strife begun in Destiny and does its best to choke its life out of it today, Marathon was born from it. Marathon was Bungie's next attempt at a groundbreaking shooter. They had Destiny and Halo on their resume, and they were looking to break into the extraction shooter market by providing a fresh aesthetic, a more casual experience, and the famously good shooter feeling of their past games. The game had an aura of lukewarm press surrounding it from its inception, and when the game finally was released as a closed alpha, the hazy cloud of dispassionate reception was given flesh. Player counts dwindled over the lifespan of the playtest. Meanwhile, Arc Raiders, a game with a comparably smaller publisher and footprint in the exact same genre, saw growth. Marathon was a square peg and a round hole. Extraction shooters attract a notoriously hardcore audience, so Marathon's attempt at watering that experience down with casual features such as hero shooter abilities like full invisibility, wall hacks, multiple revives, a slower TTK, and a confusing lack of proximity chat in the name of toxicity protection was guaranteed to make its most likely buyers skeptical and prospective buyers not in that audience overwhelmed and more dangerously bored. Halo fans weren't interested, as Bungie made it very clear they were willing to abandon them if they didn't earn them profit. Also, most arena shooters are a stark contrast to the slower and more methodical style of extraction shooters. Destiny fans were likely to stay in Destiny, as Marathon offered nothing significant in the way of PvE, and original Marathon fans were just confused about the direction of their once single-player story shooter. Worse is that the game was noticeably designed to be a playtime sink between a tiny vault size, grindy upgrades, a ludicrous amount of time spent just scouring the map with maybe one combat encounter, and many other such cases. As time went on, we began to learn that all of these decisions were likely made not by developers, but by leadership. The game is a disrespectful watering down of the true possible talents of Bungie developers. Marathon could have been a faithful adaptation and progression of its roots as a story-driven boomer shooter. It could have been a AAA approach to the tremendously successful PvE extraction shooter pattern set forth by Helldivers 2. Marathon could have been a movement shooter approach to the extraction shooter market. But all of these, it was not. Instead, it tried to be a game made for everyone. But as we all know, a game made for everyone is a game made for no one. Not even streamers who make their living off of FPS or Destiny games were playing it. The emotions around the game were low, but still optimistic. Something Bungie could fix given enough time. Maybe. But Bungie seemed resistant to any changes to the game at all. Even mouse and keyboard magnetism, a feature nearly universally criticized, was met with feet dragging. Quote, Marathon gameplay director Andrew Witz talks aim assist on M&K. We're not trying to make it a must-pick kind of thing. That's why it's a toggle in the menu. We're trying it out as a lever to keep parity between mouse and keyboard and controller. We don't think it's in the most perfect spot. This is us getting it out there to get some thoughts on it and iterate it from there. I think I am more worried about Bungie's response than most of the community. I get the vibe from the Q&As that they aren't considering solo-only modes at all. Huge mistakes, IMO. Some of the most fun I've had in private playtest were solos-only lobbies, and I know many of the devs agree. They had good feeling shooter mechanics and a unique art style that was the freshest thing on the market. Until an artist discovered it was theirs. The Marathon Alpha released recently, and its environments are covered with assets lifted from poster designs I made in 2017. At first, everyone was skeptical of these claims, but as more and more comparisons were made, more and more instances of theft was discovered. With this alone, Bungie became one of the largest examples of corporately funded art theft in the AAA market. And the sad thing was that this wasn't their first time. Destiny enemy art, weapon skin designs, and most recently a lawsuit over intellectual property rights to the story of Destiny 2's Red War campaign. Bungie had a track record. Antriel's designs and art were plastered all over Marathon. It made up practically everything in the visual language of the game. The very soul of Marathon, the only saving grace that it was founded on incompetency from the art team and lies from a supposed previous employee. We immediately investigated concern regarding unauthorized use of decals in Marathon and confirmed that a former Bungie artist included these in a texture sheet that was ultimately used in-game. Immediately, the term art raiders made its rounds. Live streams with the developers were bleak and depressing as the chat spammed, "Plagiarism will make me God," a reference to original Marathon. The community of the game, which hasn't even released yet, was toxic. Say something bad and you get hate. Say something good and you get hate. Say something neutral and you get hate for not picking a side. So, I choose to be honest and critical. The game will not survive. A delay is not enough. The debacle surrounding Marathon was like a dam breaking on a river. From this one piece of bad press poured more and more news of just how deep the cancer of greed runs. Quote, "Everything happening to Bungie is because of greed. Ex-employee hopes the studio gets consolidated into Sony. That's the path forward," end quote. Bungie's leadership thought the cool glows and attractive armor from Trials of Osiris would cut into Everfirst, their in-game store's sales. News: Bungie's leadership reportedly considered adding a subscription model to Destiny 2, but that was ultimately shut down by developers. Bankruptcy might be the solution. This I say not because I'm coming from a place of malice for the devs or the players still enjoying active Bungie titles, but as a last-ditch effort to save them. To me, it's clear that passion still resides in the studio, but its head is filled with rot. Unfortunately, the higher-ups and executives will likely be the last people to feel anything from the pain they're causing their studio and their players. Continued hope and benefit the doubt is actively subscribing to delusion. The ones calling the shots do not care about you. Your worth begins and ends with how loud your wallet shouts to them. Money talks, not you. So, give them silence. Sony, who purchased Bungie for $3.6 billion, will not let this investment go to waste. Call their bluff. If they are forced, they will take action. If leadership is the only culprit left, eventually it will be cut out like a biopsy. But what about the devs? The game development space is volatile, as layoffs seem to be a common practice in the industry, and securing a livable wage with conditions that respect you as a human being can be hard to come by. I understand this. I know it's easy for some distanced creator like myself to wave their hand and not understand what I'm really asking for. But the way I see it, Bungie as a studio is a sinking ship. The games Bungie has put forth have received worse and worse press as a history of bad and morally reprehensible actions pile up. I want the devs to jump to a life raft before they can drown. Currently, some of the most well-loved and successful games are from tiny studios composed of the real talent that once made up a AAA studio. If you have the talent, and especially if you have the resume, the market will support you, I firmly believe. Players will support you, I firmly believe. The longer you're on the wrong train, the more expensive it is to get home. Don't drown with Bungie, whether you're a player or a developer. Let the company die so that the developers and the art they want to make can live. Hopefully, it'll be as simple as Sony taking a hacksaw to the operation table, where the good devs who make games can stay, but leadership and anything in between can get removed. But if not, at least please don't get stepped on by greed. The best time to axe Bungie's leadership was 5 years ago. The second best time is now. Thank you for watching. Bless your faces and deuces.